Ciao a tutti e bentornati a un nuovo episodio dello S2M Podcast. Io sono Luca e volevo solo ricordarvi molto velocemente che questo è un estratto di una conversazione con Hans Emil, che quindi già altri episodi precedenti sono usciti, quindi vi consiglio, se non l'avete ancora fatto, di dare un'occhiata agli altri video che trovate sul canale. Detto ciò, spero che il podcast sia di vostro gradimento e vi auguro una buona visione. What are you talking about?
I talk about frequency
The frequency, right? Yeah.
and the different stages, and then I talked a bit about powerlifting and how high frequency is probably advantageous for some, but not given. There are people who are having good results with less frequency on the big main lifts. So all about find the type of training who suits the individual. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, so many factors to assess to find the best way for each individual to train. I think that's perfectly summed up. So I think some a trap that some coaches could go into is probably being too biased towards let's call it a frequency philosophy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay, only doing high frequency on my guys or too low for frequency on my clients. So I think which kind of a frequency you have to do. You have to really look at the interview, listening to each given client, and sometimes people want to do, but sometimes it's not the best to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to train 6 times a week, and this is a advanced guy with a lot of muscles, but then again, his current situation is a bit different. When I started training, I was 20 years old, no house, no worries, no loans, just sleeping good, training good, no wife, and so on. So all is perfectly suited for you to get gains. Okay, so you can push yourself 6 times a week. Then you're 30. Okay, you got house, wife, kids. Some people have, and the demands on the body from other factors in life have an influence of how you're going to structure the training. So by doing 6 times a week, maybe this guy actually get worse gains because he can recover from that total amount of stress that's building up through the week. Therefore, it's really important to look at the performance aspect of training. So the results is always a consequence of performance.
Yeah.
Okay. So for instance, to do wrongs and errors is something that has like a negative vibe to it. Okay, so that is bad. Oh, I did a mistake. But mistakes and errors is learning tools. Okay, so if you embrace as learning tools, you can get better performance. I did this wrong. Okay, what can I do different? When you do something different and it increases your performance, and then the results in the end will get better. So let's say this. Okay, I have no capacity of recovering with this current state with 6 times a week. Okay, I do this upper body split 4 times a week. I make a buffer for recovery because I'm resting 3 days. And maybe on these days, I actually sleep on the couch middle of the day, 1 hour or 2, because my sleep is poor due to the current situation. And then suddenly you see, oh shit, my performance is getting better because you have evaluated the whole situation and scenario, and then you have done something to better the performance. You have increased your recovery capacity, and then as a result, get better because of it, of the adjustments you have. So it's a bit like that. There's this saying we call judge me on my worst days. Have you heard about that? Judge me on my worst days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't judge me on my successes, but judge me on my failures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's really relevant when it comes to longevity in terms of strength and muscle building, because when you're 20 and 35, it's a bit different. And that's like how you can differentiate people who are continuing training and who are not, who can adapt to the milieu which are developing around you. Okay, so the people who have longevity, they do adjustments during the process. It's all about also enjoying the process. You know, if you're too results orientated, then could really make this type of blocking or aggressive attitude, whatever you call it, because you're so focused on achieving, but you're not performing the tasks that are important to better performance. So when you take each given day and focus on the tasks, in the end, that will bring you closer to the results.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. I never got what really means to be to have recovery problems, recovery capacity problems. Since I've lived for the last years. I mean, with my family, and always slept 8 hours a day, and always had pretty simple and very easy life. So I didn't have any stressor, and I moved to England a month ago, and having all the stressors to do the things, and not having anybody to support you, or to just help you doing some things, which in most cases are just simple tasks, but they take a lot of time. So basically you understand that in when first your day was pretty free of things, so you could fit anything inside. You get to understand that you have multiple things to do, and that your availability of time is very, very short. So you have to manage the tasks, and you get more stressed at the end of the day. And so also your recovery capacity is compromised. And so you have to really empathize, I think, with clients. I have some clients which are where, like, they tell me they're working 10-12 hours a day, which, I mean, it's crazy and it shouldn't be that way. But let's not talk about that. It's just as a way of the way it is. They're working 10-12 hours a day, and then they go and train, and maybe their performance is not the best. And you have to try to explain them that it's normal, that it's that way, because when you look at their feed on Instagram is full of people that are athletes as their profession. So if you look at the videos of AJ Morris, and you think that your life should be like his, it can't be like his, because I mean, your performance in the gym, because he's training just for that reason, while you're training as a part of your life, but it's not the main reason why you're living. And I think that's an important thing that people don't realize, because as I said, you as Domenico from Italy, which is a guy that me and Elia know, basically he always repeats that you are influenced by the majority of people you follow on Instagram. So it's the people you follow, it's the people you look at every day that set your standards. So if you just follow athletes, your standard will become that of an athlete. So even from a physique standpoint, you'll be disappointed with your results, because you always follow athletes which just for the way they are like top elite genetic athletes. So your results will never match their results. And also for like training aspects, and like the stressor they have on life, you think your training should be all perfect like there, but in the end it can be, because you have a different life from there. And another thing I've discussed with a guy or with which I trained the other day here, basically he told me that people, when they start training and they want to become athletes, they only look at people who are athletes now, and they want that they on the want to do the same thing they do, but they never realize what these people who are athletes now were doing 10 years ago. And when you look at what they were doing 10 years ago, you realize that their life was as complex as yours, and they were
Yes.
training, they had the same problems with training that you're having at the moment, but you're looking at the wrong example, by which you can take some interesting consideration or learn something useful, instead of looking to the athlete, which is the Olympics, or is it, or is at the best of is, I don't know, if we are talking about bodybuilders, is the best of his stage condition and is winning trophies over trophies. You should look at what he was doing 5, 10 years ago, and understand that if he's at that point now, it's because of what he did in the past. I think that's something that we should all try to do, because it's easy to let us our minds focus on the wrong thing. I think that's a good consideration. I don't know if you agree with that.
And also, like Instagram is like it's a snapshot of the day.
Yeah.
So sometimes people get the wrong picture, and I also follow that with the algorithm on Instagram. What you get is what you click on. You make the decision yourself on what will influence your day. That's why I'm just clicking on cats and dogs. So don't have to see all this physics all the time. So I just get this positive state of mind where I'm looking at dogs and not other physics, so I can focus my own physique and my own goals. Is that
That's right.
beautiful?
That's
Yeah,
right.
very
My
good.
Instagram
But
is full of training.
with there's like a serious point there, because I have a lot of clients I have some clients which are like too focused on what's happening on Instagram. Look at this and how strong that girl is, and she looks like this. I want to look like this. But these are like distractors.
Yeah.
And you focus on the wrong thing. You focus on other people, and you may be a single mother and can train 3 times a week, and the woman you idolize is having like her body as a profession. I'm just training all day, doing photography, online coaching, but living by expressing this body in some kind of way. So like the starting point is a bit different. It doesn't mean that you can't get those results by having like less ideal starting point, but you have to have a bit be a bit realistic when you watch that thing, and it's all about this snapshot of moments every day, and as you said, it's not that people look like this all year around. They maybe take 100 picture when they are at Belize and flexing their abs, but we're using that content through the whole year.
Yep.
And then their form may actually vary a bit, in terms of, especially when you're doing things the natural way, you have to try to stick in a caloric surplus for a while. And sometimes when you are striving to get to the new level, it may be that you have to flirt with a body composition that you may not be as comfy with. So you have to be comfy with having a bit more fat on your body to be able to reach a new level. Because when you idolize these guys and they look in a certain way, looking always ripped and so on, and you try to achieve the same as a natural elite, you're putting brakes on your progress, because you're never in a productive milieu to make gains. Therefore, like good guidelines. Okay, do the 3-4 times, multiply it. If you, let's say it this way: when you have been in a deficit for a while, the time you should spend in a caloric surplus are probably 3 to 4 times longer than that.
Yeah.
To to adjust, the things that have occurred during the cut, with all this hormonal adjustments and the spontaneous activity levels, all these things that adapt during the cuts have to get at these normal levels again. So you have to have this recovery phase to get the prime you, and then you have to have this productive period which you training to better the performance and get stronger, and they're also getting more muscle mass. But if you have this yo-yo kind of mindset that when you are let's say when you're cutting, oh, I want to get stronger, and then you're in a surplus for 4 months, oh no, now I'm fat, now I have to cut again. So there's not too much productive time to actually make some progress. So I think, especially with the natural athletes, probably should stick in a calorie surplus the most of the time. And on special occasion, especially when you're competing, you have to get shredded enough, of course. But the main part of training should probably be in a calorie surplus to make progress. So when you have superficial amounts of testosterone in your system, you can also get some gains while cutting. You can also do that as natural, but not in that radical way. So it's a lot harder to make the right kind of progress. So the most of the time you probably should stay in a kind of caloric surplus, I think. And if it gets out of hand, probably do some aggressive cutting to lose some body fat, and then reverse back to a caloric surplus again.
Yeah.
Typical me, I start with one subject and then I end up somewhere.
Yeah, man.
That's interesting.
We have the same ADHD brain. No worries.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So regarding the idea of looking at Instagram and people on Instagram, I think it's a good idea to try to limit the people you follow on Instagram for two reasons. So the first one is that if you only follow people, or if you mainly follow people that train, so athletes and coaches and whatsoever, you fill your life with just training footage, which to a certain point can become like you can become obsessed with training, and I don't think it's a healthy thing to do, because you should think about your own training. If you're just a trainee, once you're doing it, maybe once you're assessing some problems with your coach, but then outside there's a life to be lived. And if you're not an athlete, it doesn't make sense to over obsess about like how the three heads of the triceps are affected by the I don't know, the degree of elevation of the shoulder, and things like that during the afternoon, when once you're finished, because you want to optimize your training. I think you should try to switch off once you're out of the gym. Otherwise, it stops being an healthy hobby, and it becomes something that drains your mental energy. And that's the first thing. And the second thing is that if you follow a lot of people, that mainly people, I mean, we all agree on basic principles, but we all have different ways of approaching the training apart. So even me and Elia were working in the same I mean, as components of the same team. I think we have some differences in the way we set up our programs. And so I think that if you follow, let's say, 30 people, 40 people, 40 coaches, and all of them work in a different way, you can, if you're wise enough, if you're enough expert, you can pick the wrong thing from all of them. But if you just a newbie, you can get confused about the amount of information that gets to you. So you'll be overloaded with information, and in the end you won't know which thing is the right thing to do, because maybe some of the coaches you follow have completely opposite positions on certain aspects, which, as I said, cover maybe more niche stuff, because if your coach is don't agree on, I don't know, how mechanical tension is provided. Maybe one of those is just incompetent. To say, I mean, if they don't agree on, I don't know, some basic stuff that is on school, I mean, on exercise books, or maybe on PubMed, and it's widely agreed on, I think it's better to stop to try and understand who is saying the wrong thing. But on this other end, if we agree on basic stuff, we can still disagree on things that it's not clear for the evidence we have, which position is best to stay on. So basically, there's some positions that we can know for sure what is the best solution in that case. So if you're the coaches you follow, maybe half of them believe it's right to do a certain thing, and half of them believes that it's right to do the other thing. You don't have enough knowledge to actually make elaborate yourself a position, so something you want to believe. If you want to agree with one part or the other, I think it can get pretty confused, and you'll be paralyzed in your own training, because you think that if you don't know the answer to the question, that training doesn't matter anything. So if you don't, I mean, basic improvements in training are just made by basic stuff, and so you shouldn't overthink about that. But when you start overthinking and you don't have an answer, you might stop doing the basic stuff and stop getting any results, when in the end it's the small stuff you were worried about means basically nothing in the end result. And that's the what I think. So basically, I think you should try and only follow some people and pick information from them, and try to, I mean, the ones you think are the most valuable, and then maybe switch to some other, change to some other. But if you want to consume all the content and a certain coach puts out, and all the content, every single word, it's impossible if you have 40 coaches, and you just will get confused, which is what happens when people first approach the discipline, to training, to whatever. They stay confused for 2 or 3 years, and then actually in the end accept a certain position. But in those 3 years, they could have gotten much better results if they only embraced one side of training, and just were consistent with that. I think that's the final point. What do you think about that?
Yes. I think first of all, you need to have a basic good understanding of all the principles when it comes to nutrition and training. Have a solid base. Okay. I think it's probably good to have a huge variety of coaches that you follow, in terms of not getting biased. Okay. So this is also a trap that people can go into, that they're only following the high frequency guy, or the keto guy, or whatever, and their line of the reasoning gets so biased because of their input each day. So they follow this person they admire, and which are good in their field, but are biased. So your line of thoughts when you are working with clients are influenced by that. So when I'm let's say following different coaches on Instagram, I like to have a bit extremes, the extremes and the balance guy, because when you, first of all, critical thinking is not easy. It's not easy. So it's something you have to really develop over the years, and it's a skill itself. Okay. And to be a good critical thinker, you should probably have a good base of understanding in the first place. Okay, you have a good a base of understanding, then you can filter out the information which is good and which are bad. Okay, and the advantage of following a bit of the extremes is that they probably have something useful, each person,
Absolutely.
which you can put in your own toolbox and use for your own clients. Because maybe one day, I got a vegan client. Okay, I'm following this vegan coach. We actually have on-site practice which are good with like type of weekend clients. Okay, they are saying something that's really useful, then you implement it in your own practice. Okay, and then maybe it's an older extreme. You have this keto guy like to live that way, and with the principle of strength training, you can get gains with keto also by eating enough in the first place. Okay, so the most important thing to build muscle is the strength component in itself. Okay, you can eat 2.5 grams of protein each day and hit your leucine threshold, but if you're sitting on a pink like fitness ball with your dumbbells, you will not get the stimuli to grow. Okay, so you have to nail the training, and like these different kind of like nutrition approaches all works for strength training. They follow all about the preference of the person.
Yeah.
Okay, so like some of this, you have like good basic knowledge. You have to not be too biased towards one subject. You have to be open-minded. You have to take a step back and analyze your own practice. Probably once a year, you have to see, okay, these are my biases, that you put yourself in the spot. Okay, I actually have some biases, and then you put some light on it, and then you can probably do better decisions with your clients when you know you're biased in something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that's the self-assessment as a coach is probably as useful as assessing your clients, because you're not better than what you can provide. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not evaluating your process and with the thinking on your coaching, and you're just sticking to your old truths, that's old truths, and then you will not progress, and then will not give a better service.
Yeah, that's right.
So yes, and with all these coaches, often on the Instagram, they are arguing about nuances.
Yeah.
Okay, have this angle, have this angle. This is a red dot. This is a green. And this, when you have a newbie, a beginner, isolating your costal pec, your whatever in a short position. Well, probably getting good at the bench press is the way to start. To have like 3 or 4 different twice variation when your strength levels are at the beginning level. Okay, so probably an extreme example, but I didn't see Ronnie Coleman doing these kinds of crazy variation which we do today, and still developed a pretty nice physique. And people are criticizing, example, barbell rows. Oh, this has poor stimuli to fatigue ratio. Therefore, this is a bad movement. Well, if you put effort in it with precision, I think that exercise could probably work really well, and has worked well for others. Doesn't mean that like it is the best exercise to do. In terms of muscle growth, I think probably machine training is a bit underrated, because you get the stability component. Technique is usually not a limiting factor, and it can pushing towards close to the failure. But that's a bit the weakness, for instance, with the barbell row, because if you have a low strength in your posterior chain, you will not have the ability to maintain your posture by doing the row, and suddenly you like flex your knees, and the range of motion starts to get shorter and shorter. So there are really like a technical aspect with that kind of exercise to get the most bang for the buck. But if you have like efficient lifter, which can really have this RDL position, and row with intent of effort and lower the weight down with a bit maybe some flexion in their back, and get a good stretch, that exercise could work really well. So sometimes I think a lot of coaches argue about these nuances oh no, 1.8 protein is better than 2.2, or some variation of statements, and which you can give this like easy advice. Okay, multiply your body weight with 2 and stick to that.
Yeah.
To make it easier for the client to grasp. Should I eat 2.5 or 1.6? It's confusing. Making it easier for them.
Yeah.
The big bricks in the programming and the nutrition. Rinse the benefits of the main concepts, and then you can start to look at these nuances.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yeah. Something to add, Elia?
No, to be honest, I feel extremely tired at the time being.
This Norwegian guy is intense.
Yeah, I'm coming from a rough day and a rough night. But yeah, I have nothing to add, to be honest. It was a good thoughts, man. I was hoping to tell you how's your personal life going. We can keep this off topic as well. So we're not gonna record it.
I was
or
interested
in the
in
podcast.
I was interested in knowing how your training is going and how you're structuring your training, but we have only 4 minutes left, so you can choose if you want to explain it in 2 minutes or if you want to. Yeah, I don't know.
Please also make a special notes on a few special notes on your pull-up game, because
I've seen it.
Yeah, you're getting stronger quickly again. Like 2020, I think it was. Are you like adopting different schemes rather than?
Yes, I love this question. I've done some adjustments to my training, so that's like the main thing when you're following different guys. Okay, you're following the N1, you're following the Manu, you're following the hypertrophy coach, and so on. They all have good thoughts, and then you develop your own philosophy, and then you reason with your programming. So what I like experienced with some of my pull-ups, they're starting to stagnate. Okay. I'm looking at the biomechanics of the pull-ups and the chin-ups, and so I'm doing this athlete analysis of myself. Okay, what's my weakness? Sometimes I feel like I can pull a lot more, but I stop in the lift. So okay, so what I've done now, because I bought myself a new apartment, which I have should move into the 1st of December. So there'll be a lot of stress in like going to the visitations and buying an apartment and loan and blah blah blah, and a lot of work stress and doing these studies with Barca Universitas. Have you seen that?
Yeah, of course. I feel like
a lot of good course.
You sent me the brochure as well.
Yeah, I'm old, man. I don't remember this thing. No, but yeah, the pull-up scheme. So I've done some adjustments in relation to like totally stress on my body, and how to progress to get what task I need to do to get the results I want. I want that 100 kilo pull-ups. So the thing is, now I train 4 times a week. I actually train a bit like kind of bro split. I have an emphasis on the first day. I train shoulders and arms. The second day I do legs, posterior chain dominant. Third day I do a chest day. Fourth day I do a straight up back day. So how I do the exercise orders, for instance, when I push the volume on triceps, it could be a bit annoying from my elbow. So what I've done, I've cut down the amount of pressing exercises, and for each given head on my chest, I just replace it with a fly movement. So I get a bit lower cost on the triceps, so I can push the volume on direct work on my triceps, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And with the biceps training, also having a specific exercise for lengthened mid short position. and the same line of thought when I'm doing my training from on deck. So I always start with the chin-ups, and I'm doing I do pull-ups first. I can talk about the reps and teams afterwards. I see we only have 1 minute, but I will try to find the spreadsheet and probably tell you. Okay.
Yeah,